Yeah, the problem is that they can just move their queen, and then we don't have a checkmate threat anymore because the king could always go to f7. Hey guys, this is Andy from Noctie. Sorry for being a bit late, but today we're gonna go through the weekly scenario for week 30 of 2025. So this week we have this position, which focuses on the concept of weak color complex. What that means is that basically one side has many weak squares of the same color. This usually occurs when the bishop of that color is lacking and the pawns are placed on the opposite color. In this case, let's take a look at black's position. Actually, all of their pawns are placed on light squares, and at the same time, their dark square bishop is gone. So this results in many weak dark squares in black's camp. And in addition to this, white has also got much more active pieces. We have this rook controlling the open a file, a knight here on c5, the bishop eyeing this diagonal, and our queen ready to jump into the action. So this gives white a huge advantage even though material is equal. So what is our strategy here? Well, first we should remember a good rule of thumb, and that is when we have a positional advantage, remember that it's quite temporary. It could change in just a few moves. So what we need to do here is to try and convert this positional advantage and turn it into a material advantage or launch an attack against black's king. And while doing this, we want to of course limit black's counterplay and stop black from getting rid of their weak dark squares. So now let's take a look at how the game might continue from here. So here in this position, a very good move to start with is that we notice black's king is actually a bit strangely placed here on f8. Usually, after castling, the king will be placed on g8. And at the same time, as we mentioned, we have these weak dark squares in black's camp. So the first move that we can play is actually to try and utilize it right away. We play queen h6, jumping into black's camp and already threatening checkmate in the next move. So yeah, black of course has to respond to this threat, and the most natural move is king g8. But here, our queen is actually good here on h6. It's difficult for black to get rid of it, and we're happy to just leave it there for the next few moves. And from here, we can further improve our position and play rook a7. So notice here that we are playing quite slowly, but every move serves a purpose. This move, rook a7, has the purpose of, for one part, putting the rook on the 7th rank, and most importantly, we are pinning down the b pawn. So here we have two attackers, the knight and the rook on the b pawn, and black has two defenders, the bishop and the queen. So currently the pawn is defended, but what this move does is that it limits black's pieces. So now the queen and the bishop must always keep an eye on this pawn, otherwise it will fall. So actually already black has very few moves. It's difficult to find reasonable moves for black because their position is so locked down. And from here we can simply slowly but steadily improve our position, and hopefully we'll break through eventually. So yeah, now it's our turn to play against Noctie. Let's see if we manage to win this. Alright, so here we are, and now let's play against Noctie. Just as we analyzed, I'm gonna go ahead and play queen h6, threatening checkmate, and yeah, Noctie immediately plays king g8. Very logical. And now we continue with rook a7, pinning down this 7th rank. And let's see, okay, Noctie captures here on e4, and already we have a decision. Do we capture with the pawn or the knight? Spontaneously, I think capturing with the pawn is better because we want the knight and the rook working together to apply pressure on the b pawn. And if we want to relocate our knight, I think it would make sense to always have the d3 square. So putting it on e4 wouldn't be so much of an advantage. Let's do that. All right. Let's see what happens here. Okay, interesting. So this looks like a pawn sacrifice. Noctie is offering one pawn, and I guess that the idea is that she judges her position so to be so bad positionally, and when doing so, a common idea is to sacrifice some material, a pawn or an exchange, in order to get counterplay. And in many times that could be really effective because it's something that your opponent isn't ready for. But here I think, yeah, of course we must capture with the bishop because taking with the pawn will leave the knight here unprotected. And I don't think we want to let go of this opportunity to take a free pawn. Even though this opens up the diagonal for the bishop, I think, yeah, we have to take it and go from there. So maybe f6, yeah. Noctie plays f6, kicking our bishop. And here we have to look for some tricks along the e file. But it should be fine, because when we move the bishop, I'm thinking of just going back to g3. Then our pawn here on e4 is still protected. And black cannot play b6 to kick our knight because it's pinned. So yeah, let's go with this. Nice, we got a blue move, so that is a great move. Happy that Noctie agrees with our idea. And alright, so here, yeah, Noctie is playing very well here. So Noctie has sacrificed one pawn, but in return she has managed to play some active moves and improving her position. And this move, of course, threatens to play h4, kicking our bishop further, and maybe limiting our queen. So I think a good response here is to strike back with h4. Nice. And that is usually a common idea when we have things going on against the king. h4 is usually a good strike. Okay, Noctie plays g4. So what do we do here? It feels like the position has calmed down a bit. So let's just pause for a moment and analyze. So we have converted our positional advantage, at least partially, into a material one. We have got one pawn, so we are one pawn up. But on the other hand, black has managed to free up the position a bit. The light squared bishop is more active, and their dark squares are not so weak anymore. So what do we do from here? One idea I'm thinking of is just moving our king, maybe to f1, just to be out of this scary e file, because in the next move I think black is going to want to play f5, putting pressure on the e4 pawn and trying to instead attack our king. So king f1 is one candidate. Do we have any other good ideas? Let's see. Maybe queen g6, but that doesn't really stop f5. But on the other hand, let's say black plays f5 now. Perhaps we can just play e5, so that wouldn't be a threat. But nonetheless, I think moving out the king from the e file should be a good move. Let's do that. Okay, nice. We got a purple move, so that is an excellent move. I think, those preemptive moves or prophylactic moves are really important, especially when we don't have a clear plan forwards. It's usually a good idea to just play, not a wasting move per se, but a move that strengthens your position and anticipates your opponent's threats instead of just playing some random move. Okay, Noctie doubles down on the e file, putting more pressure. What do we do? Still, I think there's no concrete threat from black's side, because anytime when they play f5, we can play e5, and they can't play f4 because we can take it. So here, yeah, perhaps we can go one step further with the king, and now to get out of the f-file, because soon it could open up when black strikes in the center. Let's go with that. All right, very nice. Noctie still agrees with our idea. Let's see what happens. Okay, queen f7. Yeah, quite reasonable. Noctie stops us from playing queen g6, and also the queen is more active here, eyeing this diagonal, perhaps going to the c4 square sometime. So now let's see, what do we do? I think it's still fine. We have still got control over this, because the rook and knight here are still working together to pin down the b pawn, and black is tied to defend it. And I think here, when we are in control, what can we do? Well, we can further improve our position. And in this case, I'm thinking of just grabbing some more space on the queen side. This gives further protection to our knight, and yeah, I think we'll go with that. All right, I think that was the third purple move in a row. That is really rare, at least for me. So yeah, it's going good, but still the job isn't done. We have to convert this, and so far we have just only one pawn. Okay, now Noctie puts an extra defender on the b pawn and also breaks out of this pin. So here Noctie has freed up the queen to move somewhere, and also b6 could be a threat on the next move. So what do we do here? One idea is that we can relocate our knight perhaps to d3 with the idea of going to f4 and then jumping into g6 and threaten some checkmate patterns there. Let's see. That could be one idea. Or perhaps we see that black has lifted the rook up from the 8th rank. So perhaps we can go with rook a8 and disturb a bit there, threatening the bishop. Probably black will have to just go back with the rook, and then we move our knight. Yeah, let's go with that. So here, when black leaves a concession in the position, it's usually a good idea to try to punish it right away or take advantage of it. So we go rook a8 and black defends. All right, but now I think I'm gonna go with this knight maneuver. Because we are playing on the king side, so sometime we'll want to have the knight transferred over there, and I think now it's a good time. Let's go with that. Okay, that's a bummer. We got a dubious move, so it seems that, yeah, Noctie doesn't like our idea. Perhaps, yeah, it's because of this, because now Noctie tries to exchange some pieces. And do we want to do that? No, I don't think we want to change it off. And yeah, let's see here. Let's pause for a moment, because first, I think it's bad to swap rooks, because our rook is much more active, controlling the a file, while black's rook is more on the defensive. So with that said, what can we do to keep the rooks? And of course we can go back to a7, putting pressure on the b7 pawn. But now we have to remember that when black move the bishop, they are attacking our e4 pawn. So our e4 pawn is under fire, and if we go rook a7, they could take our e4 pawn, but then we'll take the b7 pawn. And I think that should be good for us, because the pin here will be quite annoying. So yeah, I think I'm just gonna go back here. Okay, good. Happy that Noctie agrees with that. And now Noctie goes back. So yeah, what has happened here? And now they are attacking our e4 pawn. So what do? We can continue with our knight maneuver. Let's say if they take our pawn, and we can jump into g6, threatening checkmate. They move the queen somewhere. Yeah, the problem is that they can just move their queen, and then we don't have a checkmate threat anymore, because the king could always go to f7. So perhaps we don't want to sacrifice the e-pawn just like that. Let's see. But on the other hand, do we have any other choice? We have to make progress. Can we push e5? Let's see what happens then. If we go e5, then we lose protection of the f5 square, and they could perhaps jump in with the knight or something. Yeah. This is getting a bit tricky. This is getting tricky. Yeah, but I think our knight maneuver should be fine. I mean, okay, let's analyze that one more time. We go there, they grab a pawn, we jump in here. So now material is equal because we've given back the pawn. And here they have to play some move with the queen. I think they must go queen e8 because we are threatening queen h8. And when we go there, they'll play king f7. Yeah, but then the b7 pawn is hanging. I think it should work out. Yeah, let's try this. Okay, interesting. We got a yellow move, so that is an okay move. Not good, not bad, but there were perhaps more accurate ways. But still not a mistake right away. Okay, I think here this should be quite strong because we are threatening checkmate, and our rook here is also eyeing the b7 pawn. Let's go with that. And now I think queen e8 is forced. They have to move their queen at least. Yeah, queen e8. And yeah. Well, I think I miscalculated, right? Because the b7 pawn isn't hanging at all. So I think that was just bad. That must just be bad. If we go queen h8 check, they just move up the king. All right. This is getting a bit tricky, isn't it? Can we try and be cheeky to play like some bishop e5 idea? No, it doesn't work because the queen is still protected. So if we go bishop e5, they'll just take it with the pawn. We go there, they go up. Yeah, the queen is protected. Doesn't work. Okay, I think we messed up a bit, but let's not give up. Let's see if we can still win this. Here the author's threatening knight f5. Yeah, but that should be fine because then we have some checks and up with the queen. So I think here we can just go up with the king to to get out of the way and put it into safety. Okay, rook e2. What do we do now? Okay, here I have an idea. We can play rook a8, and the threat is that on the next move we are threatening to take on c8, because when we take, black's queen will be deflected over there, and then we have queen h8 with a skewer on the queen. So yeah, let's go with that. Nice. Got a blue move. So I think this is a strong idea. Let's see how Noctie responds to it. Oh wow, Noctie. Okay, that was unexpected. So Noctie sacrifices her rook, and when this happens, yeah, we don't have much of a choice. We just take it and hope for the best. Hope that we didn't miss anything. But it could be that Noctie was calculating some perpetual check trick. But does it work? Does it really work? We play bishop f2, and when we do that, Noctie does not have an attack going on, so she must be betting for a perpetual check. Then perhaps queen f3, we go king g1. Oh yeah, I think Noctie manages to get a perpetual, doesn't she? Here, let's go to this square. Or does he have it? I don't know. Or are we fine? Perhaps she missed this move, king h2. Because now I don't think how she's continuing. Alright, wow. She's going all in for that perpetual. Let's see. This is a bit tricky, and it feels like a very reasonable plan because, yeah, we had so much pressure going on, and I think this was the best bet. But how do we handle this? Yeah, I think we go with the king. Noctie has check there, but then we just go back. Oops, we got a blunder. That's not good. So, yeah, okay, right, all right. I see it now. That was silly. That was really bad. We just blundered the queen in one, and yeah, I think it's game over now for us. So that was not good. So here I'm gonna actually use a take back to this position, and try to not blunder the queen. So let's see here. And I think now I found a very nice move, and that is king g2. Of course, we can take the pawn with the bishop, but then we have to deal with more checks, and I'm not sure if we can escape perpetual if we go that line. But if we go king g2, Noctie does not have any more checks, and we, on the other hand, are threatening loads of stuff against black's king. So let's go with that. All right, so that was the right way to go, not blundering the queen. So this shows how careful you must be all the way through, and not make any mistakes any way up the step. So yeah, here we have a nice tactical shot, and that is to take with the rook. The queen must take, and then we go queen h8, and skewering the queen here on c8. So yes, we go with that, and then from here we take the queen. And now we should have an easy win with so much material. So now we just have to be careful and not make any more blunders, especially not blundering the queen. That wouldn't be helpful. And now I think we have checkmate in the next move. King f5. Alright, we managed to do this at last, although we did mess up once and had to use the take back feature. But yeah, nevertheless, I think we should be happy that we managed to solve this in the end. Alright, so that was this week's scenario. And as we saw, we played quite well in the beginning, having come up with a quite good plan. But then we started to slip a bit, played some inaccuracies, and yeah, here's a good example of how to relate to them when practicing in Noctie. And one tendency that many players have is that they become too focused on playing perfectly, and as soon as they make a mistake or even an inaccuracy, they feel that they have to restart or that everything is ruined. But remember, in real games, even amongst top grandmasters, they don't play accurate moves all the time. there's always going to be some human inaccuracy, perhaps excluding the top players, but even them can't play perfect moves all the times. So we have to take that into our own training, and when we practice, when we make an inaccurate move, we should just continue and fight on from the position that we are at. And then later in the game, we witnessed Noctie's great sacrifice with the idea of getting a perpetual check. And that is a great example of how Noctie tries to trick you. So even if you're ahead, you have to be very, very careful and never stop double checking your moves. And we slipped there majorly when we hung a queen. So we used the take back feature to find the correct way forwards. So that was it for today. And as always, thank you so much for watching and happy playing. Bye bye.